Hey friends, today's video is going to be a subclass tier list for competitive PvP in Season 22. I know I should have posted a checkmate video by now. I'm trying to play Destiny 2 to get the set footage, but the server instability with the DDoS attacks that are going on right now is making it very inconsistent to play, so I pretty much have just been doing vault management and other idea videos like this one that you see before you. So to start off with the rules, I'm going to break a lot of the rules today. Not going to be very consistent, going mostly with my gut and play experience rather than anything that is objective here. My plus rating is going to be it is strong enough to stand by itself, and when you see it on a team, you're almost always going to just be like, all right, that's awesome. Yeah, join our team. Whereas the minus is going to have some conditions that come along with it, where it can be as strong as the plus, but you need that condition to be fulfilled, and because it has a condition, it is in the minus. S is the pinnacle of power right now, but that doesn't mean it's the most powerful that has ever existed in Destiny 2. An example of this could be Day 1 Stasis versus what we have now. Day 1 Stasis was so much easier to use and gave you so much bang for your buck. The next thing is we're going to assume that you are playing at the competitive ceiling of this subclass against other players that are playing the competitive ceiling of their subclass. Is there a realistic excuse to make if you are losing the match to an equally skilled player playing their best? That's how I'm going about this. So to start, I think there are two very obvious S+ tiers. Going to be the Dawnblade and the Sentinel Titan. Both of these have fast charging supers that are very difficult to counter, again assuming similar skilled opponent playing their ceiling. This means for Bubble Titan, you're walking in and out of the bubble to refresh, and for Well, this means you are placing the Well somewhere smart where you can defend against the sword and constantly go in and out of cover to refill health when you're getting chunked too much. Just the supers alone put them in S+ tier, with how difficult they are to deal with and how specific you have to be to deal with them if you are not one of these. Now, the subclasses themselves, the rest of the neutral kit, is incredible. Dawnblade gets an Icarus dash, and Sentinel gets to give their entire team an overshield. Their neutral is mostly like restoring health and picking up orbs of light to get devour and that type of thing, which can snowball into victory if you know what you're doing. But for the most part, you kind of just throw these subclasses on and just win more. I want to do some D tier now, just so we can have a comparison. I think these two are extremely conditional. I would say before Behemoth was nerfed, it was like up here. If you played 3 of them on the same team, you are uncontested. Now it's kind of like you need the team to make it playable. There are some solo Behemoth builds that I'm toying around with now that are good and that are fun and that I can beat most players with. But again, if I'm playing a similarly skilled Dawnblade, I feel like my Behemoth play is in the D tier. And the same can be said for Sunbreaker. What makes Sunbreaker incredible on teams is being able to use the throwing hammer to instantly refill your teammates' melee abilities, so you completely skip the melee cooldowns. And yes, this does work in Checkmate. It's one of the ability oversights. This is a vanilla tier list, by the way, not Checkmate, not even taking that into account. I will do a single Checkmate tier list way later down the line when I have more time to play it. But right now, multiple Behemoth is still really, really, really strong. I will also say Cryo Slide. You can do some pretty cool skill ceiling things with it, but ultimately you are going to get choked out by Wells of Radiance and the neutral game that comes along with Dawnblade. Just being able to simply aim your gun while activating your movement ability is just, it can't be stated how much of an advantage that is to a competitive player. Now I will do something in the middle. So we will go with Gunslinger and with Arcstaff. This is Baby's first FPS class right here, and it has to be kind of simple because of that. You want somebody who's never played Destiny 2 but is an FPS player to have something that feels like they're going home to. And this is the class that does it. I will say that this relative power level right here is where I like the game being played. The strength of the Dawnblade and strength of the Sentinel, I think, are a little bit too much and honestly have too many get out of jail free cards that are just frustrating to deal with. B seems like it's fair to counter in a lot of aspects. Like if someone pops a golden gun, yes, the 3-shooter lasts a little bit too long, but you can just kill it by sniping it or shooting it with the shotgun or just having your entire team post up on a lane and maybe 1 or 2 of you die, but you're for sure going to kill it. Arc Staff, the actual like super, is pretty much uncounterable, but it takes a while to get to it. And then you also have to play this class overall. I would say this class here, when you're doing everything correct, it can keep up with some of the S tier, but it has so many moving parts that come along with this subclass that it's hard to fulfill all of those conditions all of the time. So now I'm going to start filling in the gaps here with what we're missing. I think I'm going to go in descending order down, starting with the S minus and justifying them as we go along now that you know what I'm comparing to. And I will also continue talking about Golden Gun and Arc Staff when I get back to it, and Behemoth and Hammer when I get back to it. Kind of doing this video unstructured, talk to friends and talk to stream a little bit to get a lot of my thoughts and explanations out there ahead of time so I can do this video more smoothly without 100 retakes. Also, I know some of y'all appreciate this while you're doing dishes. So, yeah, get those dishes done. And stop using this video to procrastinate that assignment. You know what you need to get done. This will be there when you're done. It'll be so much better. Okay, so we're putting Missile Titan up here. Why is this conditional now? Well, before it got nerfed, it was undoubtedly up here. But now that the super is a little bit slower, that is a bottleneck that can cause you to lose games. And I would say that it kind of also counters itself. The barricade goes up, and then the lightning nade jolts the barricade, which turns it into a jolt catalyst. And that amount of chip damage can be the difference between just like wiping a team. So these lightning grenades are really strong. But I think now if you don't have a bubble or a well on your team, triple missile just doesn't make as much sense as having a bubble and 2 missiles. Still a really good subclass. Knockout is honestly kind of BS to deal with. Same with the Sentinel. The Sentinel also gets a melee lunge extender. Though I do like controlled demolition, I do think of the melee lunge extender as kind of like the Winnie Hut Juniors of winning a gunfight in this game. It's just, oh, my opponent's within 10 meters of me. Better melee and hope the servers like me more than them. That's how it feels all the time. So both of these classes have like similar level of BS. It's just bubble is ultimately a better super. Also the Devour and whatnot. Yes, you can get your health back by punching people, but you can also just do that on Sentinel, so it's nothing special. I will say though, the 1v3 capabilities of Arc versus Void, I see Arc Titans pull it off way more than I see Void, even though on paper, it should be equally possible. In experience, I see the Arc Titan pull Titan magic out of their ass way more often than Void Titan. Even though when I'm playing my best on Void Titan, I see more combo lines to make the 1v3 happen. The next one I'm adding is Strand Hunter. And this should be no surprise to my high skill players that are watching this video. Strand Hunter has the highest absolute ceiling of any class in the game, but mechanically we're not all there yet as players. Some of us are getting closer. Some of us are getting closer to when they play and they're doing that cool thing. You know that it's up here. But we're not consistent enough with it yet as a player base. I'm still really learning this class and how to stretch the ability economy with it. So an example of this is on a team setting, if you have multiple Strand Hunters, you get to set a grapple point, and then the rest of your Strand teammates, whether that's Warlock or Titan or Hunter, they get to use your grapple point and not consume their grenade. So that right there, just learning to use that as a team helps elevate it up here. Another thing, using a Strand ability to create a tangle, then the tangle can be used as a third person look, as a grapple saver or as a grenade as damage. And you can also combine all three of those at once. You can hold a tangle and tell your teammates, hey, I'm about to throw this towards B flag. You ready to fly in? Also, the aerial play, the airborne effectiveness stat, and handling that it gets for free, the rope dart is a little too forgiving. There are just so many broken aspects of this class, and I don't mean like the aspect fragment system. I just mean like philosophy wise with this. It's too strong. It does way too much stuff. We're just not at a consistent enough ceiling yet as players to be able to really see that. I think in a month, maybe 6 months from now, if people just grind this class harder, we're going to see just how problematic it is. And not even talking about the Strand clone, which on certain maps is completely uncontestable. You put that Strand clone somewhere and someone basically just has to accept that they're taking damage for having the audacity to enter the mid-map. I'm not going to go too much more into this, just put this one in the back of your head as you see players get better with it if you have any doubts to what I'm saying here. I said the same thing about Behemoth Titan a very, very long time ago. I said, y'all are calling this class bad, but do you understand what it can do with 2 other Behemoth Titans? And that kind of just simmered for almost 2 years. You can look at the video date. It just sat there for 2 years. Then people started getting stream sniped by teams of 3 behemoths, and they weren't even like good at it. They just picked the class up. Some of them are like tournament grade players and extremely good. I'm just speaking a wide audience here. A lot of people just threw on 3 behemoth and they just beat fantastic players just because they were on 3 behemoths and the other team wasn't. Another part of that is Antaeus Ward on Titans. I identified that a very long time ago after a nerf and said, I don't know why y'all are putting this away. It's still the best. You should just be using this if you want to win. It's still problematic. Another one before that was Lord of Wolves. Lord of Wolves got a pretty significant nerf, and I still used it, and I still go, y'all are putting this away too early. It's still just the best. So trust my gut here on Strand Hunter. It has so many moves. As people get better, you will see what I mean. It's going to be up here. I'm going to move on, though. I'm talking in circles. Next up is Shadebinder. I think this is my last S- edition. Shadebinder has the flaw of having a slow charging super. There is a workaround with a fragment that gives you super energy for getting frozen kills, except recently that was quote-unquote buffed, but it was kind of nerfed. In Trials, I could have my super round 2 if I did everything correctly. Really played my grind a game by getting only freeze kills and making sure I'm extending the length of the round, that type of thing. You really could rip supers before Well and Bubble if you knew what you were doing. But that fragment got changed. Now it makes an Orb of Light when you kill a frozen target, which is still super energy, don't get me wrong, and that can turn into ability energy. I actually had a guy hit my team with 2 cold snaps back to back. We died, spawned up, and 15 seconds later, that same player had a cold snap. I'm not even kidding. That just means that when they got the kill, orbs went on the floor. They probably reapered an orb ahead of time. And then they also had like boot mods that had absolution and grenade recharge and stuff like that. And the cold snaps on Ozymancy themselves give you a faster cooldown when it tags an enemy. If you get a double tag there, just think of all those things compounding into they had an extra grenade 15 seconds after the fact. That's crazy. And that also doesn't even consider conditional finality, the exotic shotgun. Maybe I pull up my Destiny item manager to help with this. Conditional finality has completely elevated the Shadebinder kit, and it was already one of the best to begin with. Here it is. It has a stasis freeze and a solar pellet is the final shot. So the stasis freeze on the first shot is what makes this incredible because it synergizes with all of the fragment aspects of Shadebinder. So we can customize subclass here and start to see some of these. So first is Ice Flare Bolts. If the conditional finality freezes and gets the kill, Basically, a cold snap falls onto the floor and hits another person. And then there's Glacial Harvest, which refills your melee or can give you health back with Rime. So you can run some sort of messed up combination with Shadebinder that essentially turns your shotgun kill into a double kill or into getting a lot of health and ability energy back just for getting a shotgun kill. So for that reason, it's an S minus, or rather the S tier. The reason it's a minus is because I don't think the super economy is consistent enough to keep up with the top two. So therefore, the top two can kind of round out a Shadebinder team. So if you have two Shadebinders and one well or one bubble, that's going to be a lot better. Even just one of these can guarantee that a high intellect Shadebinder can get it super. And the loadout that I run with it is this. It runs like 9 intellect. Very, very high discipline and almost no strength. I just don't use my melee unless it's an emergency. This other Shadebinder kit uses I Have Another World. And that is because it is a turret thrower. I'm sure some of y'all have seen my stasis turret videos. I'm going to just search it up on YouTube right now. This video is called There's a Shadebinder Turret in this thumbnail. I want you to just like food for thought. Look at what's going on in this video. Same way I was talking about if stasis hunters just played better, we would appreciate that class a lot better. This is the same thing. If more Shadebinder warlocks didn't have a heart and wanted to torment their opponents and started grinding out Counter-Strike nade angles, this is what you would be seeing consistently. So when you play against Shadebinders that know what they're doing with their util, you're not going to have a fun time. This can completely break some maps. Just like I said, the Strand clone can break some maps, the Stasis turret can. Yes, it's a very harsh cooldown, but as long as your team knows when to time their approach, I don't think anybody beats it. And if the team knows what to look for, that's when you start getting into the real competitive tiers of thinking with they're just going to be looking up for a stasis turret to land. They're just going to be looking up because they expect me to heat rises for the third time in a row. They're just going to be looking up because I put a ceiling grapple for 2 rounds in a row. Those type of things. Like you get into the mind games here with these 3 classes. So you really, really can just make your opponent play straight into your hand. Okay, moving on to A+. We got... This one has been criminally underappreciated. I like that the tournament scene and the scrim scene is much more appreciative of Nova Bomb now. I put this up here because, unlike a lot of classes in the game, it has some definitive answers to some of the best abilities in the game and the hardest maps to have a game plan on. And that is because of Blink. And not just Blink, enhanced Blink. When you run Astrocyte Verse. Astrocyte Verse, by the way, I always have a bone to pick for this, so if there's ever like a Bungie dev listening, I don't think it needed to become volatile for blinking. What it needed was to fix the slide bug. It has a bug where if you blink 3 times, you are not allowed to slide until you have another blink cooldown. But the way the game plays is sometimes I do have to burn all 3, and sometimes I do have to slide directly after. It just feels so unintuitive compared to everything else in the game. Why doesn't more powerful things have a slide penalty if this one warrants it? Food for thought. So what makes this powerful is it's a void class, first of all, so it has access to Reaper. So you use your class ability, your next kill drops an orb, pick up the orb, you get Devour, and now all your kills refill your health. Its 1v3 capability for that is incredible. Then it has a melee that like offsets your movement, knocks you out of the way. So it's very, very good with dealing with shotgunners, protecting yourself. Then the Child of the Old Gods from the Rift. That thing is so difficult to deal with. I know what you say is just, oh, just shotgun it when it comes close to you, or shoot it with the primary. The problem is, I shoot it while it's in flight, and it says 1 damage, or it says immune. Then it lands and starts setting up, and I still shoot it, and it says 1 or immune. Then it sets up, and I can break it instantly. But in that time, I'm forced to take weaken. My opponent is probably shooting at me. And the weaken makes me slower to get away around the corner. And makes... Is it my gun inaccurate too? I'm not 100%. Maybe that's stasis. But anyway, they do more damage because I'm weakened. So you really can't play around this ability. It's maybe too strong. But since you can't play around it, it's A+. I don't think it deserves S because it's a lot harder to use, and Blink has pros and cons. It's not just all good things. Whereas these classes are pretty much just all good things. They don't really have cons. That within the team composition of themselves, including a bubble or a well with a Shadebinder, that they can work around. Yeah, Blink, for every awesome moment, you have a really stupid moment where you fly off the map or can't slide to do something correctly. And on the same subject, I think Gemini Arcstrider is very strong, but I think Astrocyte Blink is just a lot easier to use and to pilot. So for that reason, it's A+, while Gemini Strider is B. I do think the radar manipulation aspect of it is really strong. But then again, getting health back with Devour, the offset melee, Child of the Old Gods, when you combine it all together, it's just... I think this gets you more. When Arcstrider is playing absolutely perfect, it's up here. But when Nova Bomb is still making mistakes, playing average, it can also be up here. I just think, again, these less brain power, less weaknesses. Anything else on Void before I forget? Okay, you might be wondering, like, specifically, why Blink? Why does Blink answer some maps? Alright, if someone puts a Strand clone at a corner, you can just blink past it and have an answer to that. If someone is a god tier sniper and never misses, you can blink from cover to cover. Anything else here? The Echo of Vigilance. When your shields are down and you get a kill, it gives you a temporary void over shield. So your ability to 1v3 is pretty strong with this, because your first kill is going to involve Child of the Old Gods, then you make a Reaper Orb, then you pick it up with Devour, or you get the ability kill. Either way, you're getting Devour. So you're back to full health. Now you have 2 targets remaining. You get a kill, perhaps. You almost trade. Then you get all your health back and an overshield, but the third opponent rips the overshield. If that overshield wasn't there, because of the way that the servers calculate this, you just die. Devour doesn't go through, even though you got the kill. Servers don't recognize that you got the kill yet. It's too late. Echo of Vigilance is that little bit of buffer that allows you to make pop-off plays with Devour. Okay, the next one is Revenant. Revenant is a Grime class. This is one where if you shatter dive every corner for third person, you wait to have your nades to full team commit. You fish for shuriken tags before doing anything. It can be pretty oppressive to play against. Also, you can use your Glacier Nade or your Enhanced Dust Field to get some really interesting off angles and completely dominate certain maps. For all those reasons, it's up here. It also has a pretty fast charging super. Same with Nova Bomb. Nova Warp's also pretty good if you haven't tried it before. So these are my A+. These are plug and play, but they're less impactful than these plug and plays. Also, you have to consider its contribution to a team. I know I just talked about Nova Bomb, average plays, and still getting a lot of mileage versus Strider, awesome plays and getting a lot of mileage. The team composition contribution absolutely matters. And while Voidwalker can give some synergy to, let's say, Nightstalker, just having the first super on the board and giving your team Orbs of Light for their super that they might not otherwise get is way better than some elemental synergy that you can get with, like, for example, Child of the Old Gods weakens the enemy. You pick up the kill on a Void Hunter with the flawless Stylus Executioner, right? Defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants invisibility and wall hacks. Even though these two can play nice together, I would argue that getting your super to close out a game or to mercy a game is way better than those elemental synergies. So now let's just move to talking about Nightstalker. This is a class that gets the minus because it comes with a condition. And the condition is you must be able to, number one, know the rules of Invis. Just simply using it to be less visible, hard to see, and get the drop on your opponent is completely different than being off the radar, using the smoke pings as a distraction, and having a game plan with both of those two things. You should be able to tell your teammates where to go, when to peek, based on your invisibility timing. If you cannot do that, it's here. If you can do that, it's here. But if you're average in your execution of this, even though you're one of the best in the world, it sits firmly at A-. Because you're not always going to have a perfect game plan. You're not always going to have perfect execution. Even though it does have a lot of value to a team, you have to completely be a shot caller at the same time that you're keeping track of these convoluted rules with invisibility. For as much as people just think it belongs here because they fly forward with a grenade launcher and Rat King, and you can't see them because you're playing on Eternity, the real ceiling of it is playing with your team and using the radar manipulation. So, food for thought again. The next two are going to be some dark horses. Y'all may not agree with these. I think they're really, really good. And it's easier to think about these two if Strand Hunter didn't exist. These two are living in the shadow of Strand Hunter because Strand Hunter does almost everything that they want to do, just better. And I think it's easier. Okay, so the gimmick of, I don't even know what to call this, a Broodweaver? It's the one with the threadlings. The gimmick of this is it either commands threadlings or it has armor lock from Halo. I haven't explored the armor locked aspect very much, but I do see that being extremely powerful in a team setting, especially in objective mode. So we're going to revisit this, and it might have potential to be up here. Now, the Strand Titan, I think, is a sleeper Dark Horse pick for controller players, not mouse and keyboard players. The melee acts as a pseudo dodge, and you can build into refilling it very, very, very fast while still being able to play the strong builds of a Titan, whether that's Peacekeepers, Lion Rampant, that type of thing. So you can have the freedom of movement like you would on a Hunter, but have the barricade of a Titan. When I describe it like that, you might understand why I put this in A-. So on controller, you can use the melee to instantly, without looking, go forward, left, or right, but not backwards. So what this means in game is you might take a very wide SMG challenge, and as soon as the instant you see you're going to lose the fight, just hold to the left and melee. On mouse and keyboard, you cannot do this, because you have to physically look in the direction to start your melee. And if you're already physically looking in the direction you want to melee, why wouldn't you just play Arc Titan and just slide? Or Void Titan and just slide? Sometimes it's because you want to have a more aerial playstyle, which is why I use this with Lion Rampant and Dead Man's Tale. on mouse and keyboard, I can't slide in the air. So what I do is I overextend in the air, and as soon as I see I am outnumbered or in trouble, I just hit the bullshit button and melee back into cover. And if I build this kit right, I either build around not having a grapple and borrowing my hunter friend's grapple, or I try to have a pretty self-sufficient kit. The reason it's in the minus category is because it kind of gets bullied by not having a super often enough, which means that you have to spec out of your grenade or your melee, which is equally important on that class, to have a super at all. So I'm still trying to min-max this one and find out like what the best ways to play it is. I would say if I have any solved loadouts today to talk about, Dawnblade is a very solved loadout. You play a hand cannon and a sniper rifle, or you substitute for a scout rifle and a shotgun. Those are the ways to play it. You play Heat Rises, you look for your off angles, and you put a lot of pressure on spawning players. A lot of the time, they can't even challenge you with their weapons. Like, they'll hit you for 10 damage when you're hitting them for like 70. You run T-steps or you run Ophidian aspects. Both of those have pretty similar bonuses. Advantages, I mean. The next solve loadout is the Peacekeeper Arctitan. You either play Thruster or Barricade, SMG. You use this class's speed and shoulder charge amplified to get into lethal distance with your SMG, and you let your melee ability bail you out. Use the Barricade to wall up and the Snipe to put pressure on your opponent, and anytime you see from safety of the Barricade that you have an opportunity to lob a lightning nade that makes your opponent more predictable, you do it, and then you play off that. That's another solved class. Another solved one is the Gemini Blink Arcstrider. That one is so good, but it has way too many moving parts to be consistently S tier. So I think you run hand cannon with that, because if you use the arc wave melee, you can pop them once in the head with a hand cannon and just chunk the melee down a lane. And it sometimes could pick it up, especially if you use a 120. Especially with a damage booster. Just all adds to the consistency of it. I think that Gemini Arcstrider is something that I'm going to re-explore, not just in Checkmate. It has a lot of moves, and it's really, really fun to succeed with. Really cool to see pop-off plays. So I think in the medium term, I'm going to be picking up Arcstrider again. But in the long term, Strand Hunter is just the best, and it has everything. I even switched my sensitivity to be a lot faster to accommodate it. And that gamble is paying off. Though I have a lot of moments of my shot just being bad, and I know that's going to go away with more practice. It'll be worth it. The final remaining class is, I think, our only C tier. This is a really, really sad sight to see, because Arctitan pretty much just ate Arc Hunter and ate Arc Warlock and just took fantastic parts about their kit and just made it its own. And in exchange, Bungie's like, alright, you're losing your identity, Arc Warlock, but we're going to give you the most broken melee in the game. And it is. The funny thing about this class is, like, when I look at it on paper, it's not that good. But my experience in game with the remaining Stormcallers that play the game, they're incredible. They're all like tournament grade winning players that beat the ass of Dawnblades and Sentinels. But for what the class offers, I just can't justify putting it higher. But something about this class, man, it's just that neuron activated for that GOAT player, that when they throw this on, it doesn't matter if it's in C tier, they're going to win anyway. I feel like this class and the ability to just completely, let's say, whiff punish somebody with that melee. Also, it has a little bit of a toolbox. The toolbox is a word I should have been using the entire time I described these, by the way. So I might go back and make sure that's clear. But there is a little bit of a toolbox with the ball lightning, where you can use it to hit players above barricades and stuff like that. I also think flux nades are a little unexplored, but because you have to dedicate so much to run a flux nade with discipline, you're often not getting a super, which means you're losing to those up top. What else on this? There are some gimmick builds you can do with like Lumina and always having a rift and giving your bad teammates arc souls. So at least when they enter a room, you're guaranteeing some form of damage if they can't do it with their guns. A terrible way to think, but it gets results in Iron Banner. I can win a lot of games in Iron Banner with Lumina and arc souls. But I think at the high level, it's just having that split second read and using that melee. It's a broken ass melee, but if you use your one cooldown per round, maybe two cooldowns per round, in pivotal moments, you're beating everybody. That's just how it is. Okay, so now let's recap everything here. These two at the top, fast charging supers, great neutral game, plug and play, and they get the plus signification because if you're trying to create a team of 3 and someone comes up and says, hey, let me join, I'm bringing a bubble, you're happy about that. You have no questions. But if somebody says they're bringing a Shadebinder and you don't have a bubble or a well, suddenly you have some questions, even though Shadebinder has some moments that are arguably better than those top two. Strand Hunter, we're not there yet as a community. Some of us are getting closer and more consistent. We just need to up our skill with it before it truly ascends. Striker Titan just got nerfed. Voidwalker, competitively unappreciated until recently, and it has some moves. Blink is really strong, but has some trade-offs. For every pop-off moment, you fall off the map. And its overall consistency, I think, lands it in A+. And again, the signification here is you're building a team. You know it's something from the A tier. If it's a Nova Bomb, you're like, cool, that's great. If it's a Revenant, you're like, that's fantastic. No qualms about it. Revenant has some grime strats. Can play elevation angles. Overall, really good. Nightstalker comes with a lot of caveats of being able to coordinate with your team, or you're basically not even using half of the kit. The two strand subclasses live in the shadow of... Did I call this Revenant? I forget what it's actually called. Strand Hunter. Thread Runner. Something like that. They live in the shadow of it. And while they do offer some really strong aspects of their own, until Strand Hunter is brought down, I just say play Strand Hunter. So A-, because the condition is you could have just brought a Strand Hunter. Also, I think the controller thing matters here too. B is where I like the relative balance of the game. Golden Gun is baby's first FPS class. Arc Strider has a lot of moving parts, but averagely played probably lands in B. Stormcaller, Arc Titan consumed it, has a gimmick melee as a result. Tournament players latch onto it and still get results. So C doesn't mean you can't win. Just means when you look at it on paper, averagely played, what are you getting most of the time? C is fair. D has so many conditions that come along with it, and these classes are really hard to play at an individual level, whereas they literally need like multiple behemoths or multiple sunbreakers to be even slightly relevant. Now, there is a sunbreaker class I do want to mention here that I have started experimenting, because kind of like how conditional finality makes Shadebinder better, conditional finality makes Precious Scars better, because now you have two forms of healing. You heal through your Igneous Hammer, or you heal through your conditional finality, and if your teammates revive you, that can potentially be a free win. This is a very, very powerful build, and I'm curious to see if it pops up more in the future. I'm certainly going to try it. And then I will show you what I was cooking up with the behemoth. This will be a future video for sure. It's called Temp Checkmate Nade. No, that's a different broken build. Did I... Season 22, there we go. Showdown PK Arc. This is an experimental build where I use Headstone to stop people from rezzing. And this is the final boss version of that loadout. It uses a headstone, forensic nightmare, prevent revives, and it combines itself with the diamond lance aspect. So when you're playing showdown, as long as you're popping off with kills, you're eventually going to get a diamond lance, and that diamond lance can freeze people. Here, I'll see if I even have the clip on hand. Some of these were kind of wild. Yeah, this one's crazy. So this is our D tier class, by the way. This is when D tier is playing at its absolute best by itself. Crazy, right? Just chain freeze somebody like that. So once again, D tier just doesn't mean that you automatically lose. It just means that you have to consistently play at a higher ceiling more often. Whereas these mean you can make mistakes because their floor is already so high. You can still make mistakes and be above someone else's realistic play. That's what I'm trying to get out here. And the second part of that is toolbox. Shadebinder has an excellent toolbox for shutting down all of the bullshit in the game, but it's tied to ability cooldowns. So sometimes you hit that bottleneck. I think out of all the classes in the game, Strand Hunter has the biggest toolbox and probably makes the most explosive plays at the cost of being literally the highest ceiling that we haven't even hit yet. Toolbox of Sentinel Titan is the suppressor nade and the shoulder charge. Those can shut down supers and honestly rip the wind out of the sails of a lot of abilities with just one place nade. So food for thought on that one. Any other toolbox classes? No, not really. Everything else has a glaring weakness or inconsistency that comes up enough to warrant putting them down a tier or two. So I'm pretty comfortable where this lands. Like I said, it's not going to be a perfect tier list. They're not all going to follow the rules, but this is just what my competitive experience tells me. And I really do play all of these classes. I don't play all of them at like their absolute ceiling or anywhere even close to that. And some of them I'm working on. Some of them I can tell you I'm really, really good at and can go toe-to-toe with some of the best when I'm playing my best. But not all of them. Not even close to all of them. I think the ones that go over my head are Invis. And what else? Definitely Strand Hunter right now. Goes way over my head. I think those two are safe too. Where I'm not experienced enough to be comfortable on them yet. The ones that I know like the back of my hand, though, are definitely Void Titan, Striker Titan, Shadebinder, and Dawnblade. Because those are the best and have been the best for a very long time, it's obvious. I put the time in. Those are my winning classes. An experimental one that I'm pretty comfortable with now is Strand Titan. Feeling very, very, very good with the DMT. And a tried and true one that I know like the back of my hand is Revenant Hunter. I feel like I've got that one pretty damn solved. One that I'm going to put more time in, I already said that this video, is Gemini Blink Hunter. But I'll probably also put time into these two that I'm uncomfortable with as a result. Gunslinger is just my fun class. It's like going home, man, to the FPS game. I run it with a gunpowder gamble setup. It's around here somewhere. Nope. Nope. It's gotta be here. Gemini Solar. There we go. Yeah, I throw trip mines. I shoot trip mines out of the air. Conditional finality builds towards gunpowder gamble. Same as stasis and that precious scar synergy. Same exact thing, except instead of it being used for something that's good, it's used for something that is funny. A lot of the time, gunpowder gamble is throwing with the trade-offs you're making for it, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I know it's literally throwing a grenade. Fucking choked on my own bad pun there, but this build is so good. Gemini Jesters fixes the problem of Golden Gun Super, where somebody sees the radar highlight red and they go, oh, that's a Golden Gun to the right. I'm going to the left. And then you do this like Benny Hill circle dance until you're out of a Golden Gun, and then you get shotgunned. Happens every time. With Gemini Jester, you make them get inside their own head when they have the radar removed. They're like, oh shit, is he coming from the right? I think I'm gonna meet him with the shotgun. And then they slide out and they realize they just fucked up because you're sitting there crouched with a golden gun just waiting for them to fly out of cover out of panic. It's great. It's so fun when this class works. So this is, again, more of a really, really fun pick because it's unrealistic in a competitive setting. I think that covers everything I wanted to say. I know I rambled on this video, but that was kind of the point. Y'all aren't able to play Destiny 2, so why not have me fuck up doing this recording like 3 times and just uploading it anyway? So yeah, I think I'm comfortable with where this sits. If anything, this shows that Destiny 2 is a really fun game, and we still have a lot of Destiny 2 left to play. I hope that the devs, though, are more responsive to outlier balancing problems and being a little more proactive on what is going to be a problem on, like, let's say the 1% to the 0.1%, where it just manifests in you running into fucking Wish Ender 24/7 in comp because it's the only way to play. That's one example. Anyhow, I think I'm going to end the recording here. Take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed these type of videos where it's just getting something out for the sake of getting something out. Thanks, everybody.